Australians have had their hands in animation for many years, and thanks to creators like Michael Cusack, they're more mainstream than ever. With the likes of Smiling Friends, Yellow Crystal Fantasy, and even Koala Man, Australia has become a breeding ground for new creators. Oh, and Bluey, of course. However, the subject of today's video just recently got their start, and working on shows mentioned before, Paul Giorgio is a rising star in the Australian indie space. Hello, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to go down under to talk about day job. Paul Giorgio is a 29-year-old animator from South Africa. However, he moved to Sydney when he was 7 years old, and the continent in Australia became his newfound home. Growing up on American media, he immediately fell in love with The Simpsons. Though early memories of watching Disney led to him getting into 2D art. At the age of 12, he would even make animations of PowerPoint. This is like way before the days where pirating things became way easier. Not that I would recommend it, of course. I mean, you should always pay for products. Skipping ahead quite a bit of time out of that legal stuff, he graduated from SA University with a bachelor's degree in art and animation, and during college we see the beginning of his three main IPs, the first being Griffin Heart High, 2 pilots would be made, one for a college final, and the other for a pitch to a studio he formerly worked at. Fun little fact, Prisoner Zero would be the first show he'd ever work on with Planet 55 Studios. However, around that time, due to the lack of new animation work, Paul would find himself doing odd jobs. I often see the meme of working at fast food to be derogatory, but some of your faves online either have worked at or currently work within the service industry. So making fun of someone's in-between jobs, especially during the many layoffs, is a dick move. I mean, you might work with them on a project someday, so keep tweets in mind. However, while working day-to-day jobs, Paul would create 2 new IPs. The first being Adventure Boy and the second Big School. The first would not be an animation, but rather a adventure game series. With the creation of these games came Eyeball 2D, his production company, what he uses as a label for his projects. But the second new IP would be that of Big School, though that cartoon series would actually cause the spin-off to be more popular than the original show.
Day Job is actually, it's split off from Big School. Like, I was actually much more interested in making Big School. The network I was dealing with was only interested in adult shows. With that in mind, I was like, well, there should probably be an adult cast. So at the time, Jake, the kid from Big School, he had a big brother. The big brother's name was Ivan. And I figured like, well, I kind of like this Ivan character. What happens if Ivan was searching for a job? That's a clip on my YouTube channel. It's Ivan applying for a job. I kind of like the vibe of that. I like the dynamic. That morphed into Day Job.
When it comes to pitching to a network, it's always good to have multiple ideas running around. Having shows being able to be edited for specific age ranges can lead to a better chance of success in making a show. Though false advertising from the company's end can lead a project to misfortune. Go check out my video on High Garden Spies to see what I mean. So Big School be for the younger kids, and Day Job being for, well, older adults. But for Day Job, this will be his most intricate show to date. Thanks to him working on such cartoons as Smiling Friends, Koala Man, YOLO, and even Solar Opposites, he's had experience working with and directing a team. These shows will be partially animated by Princess Bento, the Australian division of Bento Box Entertainment. The company loved what Paul was doing, and so they told him to pitch the Fresh Blood. Fresh Blood is a block under ABC, not the American one, but the government gives young creators an opportunity to make a show. 2 notable projects you might recognize would be Koala Man and comedy group Auntie Donna. The higher-ups at Princess Bento suggested getting Michael Cusack to sign on, in order to have a better chance at getting funded. To put this in perspective, out of 500 applicants, only 10 were selected in 2024. That's how insanely hard it is to get like government funding in Australia. So with being picked up, he got the chance to make 3 5-ish minute episodes, and would see if he'd be able to move on to get his own show, fully. But okay, what is it actually about? The show we've been talking about for a while? Day Job is an animated documentary that follows the lives of overqualified young staff of a dingy local bowling alley. One of the reasons the cartoon is unique is the effective use of 3D models for backgrounds, as well as long takes to give it more of a documentary feel.
You can't get it. Cool. You can't just. Cameraman, did you see him do this?
Rico, you
gotta tell me.
I can't interfere.
You have to.
I can't interfere.
In fact, I wasn't even too concerned with people staying on model anyway. Like, because the fact that every artist would be given like a 1-minute scene, that means you're not like jumping between shots very often. Because you're not jumping from this character to a different angle of the same character, you don't have to worry about different artists having their work blending together and being seen in the same scene. So because of that, I would allow the animators to have like more ownership over their scene. So it's like, okay, this scene is 1 minute long. No other artist working on it except for you. So you can just draw it your way. As long as this scene is consistent with itself, I think it'll provide a consistent experience for the viewer. So people kind of they had a lot of freedom to draw their own way and make little embellishments and do things like that. On-modelness wasn't a big concern for me.
What's the baby's name?
Oh, I don't know. I've never asked.
Okay, everybody. This customer lost his kid. Does anyone know where it is?
You mean that kid?
Each animator would get about 1-minute scenes rather than specific shots, meaning they would work on a scene for about 2 or so weeks, but in the end have like a lot of footage for the animation reels. Though it was his work on YOLO that gave him a lot of ideas when it came to drawing his characters, as it would essentially allow any drawing to be used on screen. Though with every production, there's a lot of hurdles you have to go past. And everyone has said that each episode had to be about 5 minutes, well, he would go a bit overboard and make them between 7 to 9 minutes in length. Not only that, Fresh Blood didn't actually want credits in the actual video, rather just having them in the description for some reason. Paul would have to fight to have them in the second episode.
They wanted us to put the credits in the description. Yeah, I didn't think that was fair. And then they also suggested we can put credits at the end of our last episode. But yeah, the reason there's credits in episode 2 is because like Serena's short wouldn't make sense otherwise. It was context for the short. Like if we're gonna have this long musical montage, it works a lot better if it's happening over the credits.
However, the third episode would get proper credits, though that episode had a lot cut from it due to budgetary and timing issues.
Yeah, I made it much longer than it was supposed to be, but even then there's still quite a lot of cut scenes from episode 3. I eventually just decided for myself, like, I want the show to be decent length. I don't want the story to be crammed into this 5-minute time frame. I want it to flow properly, so I just decided to make it longer at whatever cost. I mean, I think if I'm working on a project, that's going to be my focus and my priority, to make that the project at hand as good as it can be, because who knows when you're going to get more opportunities.
What's interesting about the government program Fresh Blood is that Paul actually retains all rights to the show. Besides getting the show picked up, that in itself is a miracle. With that in mind, Paul wants to re-release the episodes on his main channel with a lot of fixes.
Oh my god, I have some real regrets with the first episode, especially the opening shot. Like, the opening shot ended up being the last thing that we did because we were putting it off because we really wanted it to be good. But I think that didn't pay off. The result is that we had to rush the compositing, and you might notice like Big Jono and Rico are really low res, and the audio as well is really fucked. Like, I actually think a lot of people got turned off in the first 15 seconds of Day Job because there's like 4 characters talking over each other, and that's just because I dragged in the wrong audio file. That's all there is. Like, there was a much better audio file where Dick and Big Jono are isolated. That's on my YouTube channel in the Best of Big Jono thing. Actually, yeah, the recut version of that shot is in the Best of Big Jono. I think I'm gonna do a director's cut of Day Job. It'll be like a little bit different, not much. And then all 3 will be on my channel before I upload the 4th one.
Question,
Just ask me, just
it's
fine,
not
fine.
here, so I'm just
I didn't
checking.
want, I killed
Did you
it,
kill
babe.
my bloody baby?
No.
Day Job got a lot of initial momentum with its first release, with the official episodes reaching up to 200k views and a short snippet reaching 183k views on his own channel. I mean, one of his tweets would also get 65,000 likes. Wow. What exactly is the next step for the show, and what does Paul want to do next with his career? Before we get into that, we're gonna take a little break and come back after these messages.
And I gotta say, it's been pretty nice without him around. It's like peaceful.
When new artist comes to the platform, there's a lot of things they have to do. Not just art, I mean how to get a leg up in the algorithm. So I chatted with him about brand consistency, promotion, and other technical stuff. As good of an artist as you are, without people knowing you exist makes it a lot harder to get your stuff out there. So I also talked to him about tags, monetization, and making sure your YouTube channel actually links to your Twitter account. That's extremely important, I'll tell you what. Not only that, but you should also continue to make stuff that you and your audience likes. For Paul, since he voices some main characters, he can do little shorts for TikTok, Shorts, and Twitter all on his own. And he has. Getting requests from fans, he's been able to put out a lot more of his characters. In fact, his show is designed in a way that would be easily manageable for him. A lot of the indie shows you might see online, either might be very expensive, complicated, or just outright difficult without involving a whole team. So with much smaller scale shows like Day Job, he has the advantage of putting out more to tide people over the wait between episodes. As for the writing process, it actually had a looser feeling to it.
Guys, something's terrible's happened.
What?
I don't know yet because I'm improvising. I have to come up with it.
We didn't write scripts, and we usually didn't even write scenarios. Sometimes we'd just all get together and just make up stuff. I scheduled in like several weeks of just unscripted audio sessions where we would just all get together and make up stuff and just like role play as the characters and doing that for a while would kind of get the ball rolling and help us come up with fun ideas. Season 1 syndrome that a lot of shows have, it's like you don't actually know the dynamic of the characters and you haven't really developed them properly, so it's hard to write for characters that you haven't seen on screen together. That's why so many shows change, like Always Sunny, I guess, like shows change so dramatically in season 2. So rather than doing that and, rather than hypothesizing about what they could be like on paper, we decided let's just get together, improvise together. We made a lot of unused stuff. Every day during recording sessions, I would just hit record as early as possible. A lot of the recordings feature people like filtering into the studio and like us saying hello and stuff, and like we recorded all of that. And because the characters are primarily just using their normal voice, and because the characters are mostly based on their actor, if we have like some casual offhand conversation, we can usually just stuff that into an episode. It's not going to be out of character or anything. And because it's a mockumentary, that was kind of the idea. It was supposed to facilitate the inclusion of real conversations. And then there were some scenes, like the scene where Ivan visits that apartment that he found online, the hoarder. That scene was scripted, but we did it in one take. And I think the fact that it was our first take, actually, I don't know why it felt so real. That it felt very natural. But yeah, I think that's just because Todor is a really good actor. He just glanced at the script and then he said, okay, I know my lines. And then we just did it in one take. Every scene in Day Job was kind of made up slightly differently.
But to touch upon the animation side, they handled it a bit differently.
We would use a lot of reuse animation. Ordinarily, people would finish a long shot in a very low amount of time, like maybe 3 or 4 days, because there's so much reuse. Like, over a 1 minute span of footage, the characters would usually just be talking. There's not too much posing and there's not too much like motion. Yeah, you would reuse a lot of poses and expressions. It came out pretty quickly. Although, to avoid cutting too many corners, we didn't use pre-made mouths. On most shows, you have a pre-made mouth asset, and in the worst case, every character has the same pre-made mouth. That I really don't like. But on Day Job, every shot had custom-made character poses and certainly mouths and chins. Yeah, most of the effort on Day Job animation went into mouths and making the mouths move in an interesting way. The way that we draw and animate mouths is like, that was a major focus for the show. Just because in most cases, the mouth is probably going to be the only thing that moves. Yeah, we have like a very strong emphasis on stuff like teeth staying rigid and consistent. Teeth are not allowed to flash in and out of frame. If you watch Family Guy and have like a focus on the teeth and the way that the teeth move, it will start to drive you crazy very quickly because Peter's teeth will just appear out of nowhere and then they'll disappear. And like, I call it teeth flashing. And like, even on good looking shows like The Simpsons, their teeth still stretch in a way that's really odd if you focus on it. So yeah, that was something that we had a lot of fun doing on Day Job, just like focusing on making the teeth consistent and like believable in a way that was somewhat mesmerizing and fun to watch. Like just watching their mouths move, it kind of draw you in. Yeah, their teeth follow this logic, which I think is pretty appealing and fun to watch.
We're in love.
Your,
What do you
your
mean?
wife, have you seen your wife? She's
What are you
got you
talking
under
about?
lock and key.
Oh, get stuck, mate.
She's
You're just...
basically
You are
trailing
better.
you
Because you're
around.
going to die alone with no one to
I'm
love.
gonna die with all
No
my
one to love.
savings.
But reposting the same episodes would be difficult to get people to rewatch the exact same thing. It is why Paul's taking time to add more things, because at the start, he was under a lot of constraints. So even before episode 4 can release, it all boils down to the success of these unreleased cartoons. Hence why I chatted with him about the algorithm and what all that means. This series would actually be the catalyst of him quitting his actual day job. And with inspired by his actual experiences, I think it gives people more to connect with that they had before.
I think it's sad. Like, I think that a lot of young people are in a very unfortunate position where they just aren't encouraged enough. And it seems like people just need a little bit of encouragement. Without that, it's pretty hard to get started. There's no shortage of discouragement all around us. I mean, especially with the economy that we live in and stuff. It's like, we're not in a very ideal situation. And there's so much rhetoric that discourages people from even trying. However, even in the face of that, it's pretty crazy to see just how far a little bit of encouragement can take somebody. That's why I just couldn't resist putting that little message at the end of the 3rd episode. Like, Ivan was talking to Lily, who was a proxy for the audience in that moment. And I understand there's a lot of audience members who are not interested in that message, depending on their life situation. But, day job is specifically for people who are stuck in a day job and they want out and they want to do something creative. I thought the end of the last episode was a nice place to put this message, especially if it's something that not everyone is going to care about. It's like, well, everybody who's stuck to the end, those people will at least be willing to hear that message and, put up with it. because it's pretty cheesy. But I think if it encouraged anybody, then it's probably worth it.
Change is always difficult in creative spaces. Whether you want to move on from previous works or want to try something new, sometimes a push can lead you on to a better path. For me, I stopped making expose videos a long time ago. Even letting go of my chair, you'd see my old videos. With that, I found more time and love for creating, such as my animated channel with friends or even these interviews with people like Paul. Sharing experiences such as this is always great to do, especially if you're actually paying attention instead of just kind of listening when you're drawing on your tablet. Yeah, I'm watching you. But thanks to the past experiences, we wouldn't be where we are today. So thank you, Chair, and everything you did. Goodbye. But when it comes to shows like Day Job, it is a 1 in a million about authenticity of the subject matter. Not that you necessarily have to have had the experiences of what you're writing about, but to do so, you would have a deeper connection with the characters and the audience. This paired with the documentary aspect of the show is something I never thought I would see in the animation space, let alone something indie.
Okay, I think you need to turn it off and go, Ivan. This movie's kind of making me feel sad.
It's not a movie, Rico. It's my life.
Yeah, I know.
Rather than ask for a bunch of money to make the show, he's aiming to fund it via support of Patreon, which is currently at a respectable 400 USD a month, as pitching this show to networks also costs money. If this show takes off, it might be more talked about in discussion of indie animation. I mean, as of right now, he has 3 full episodes under his belt, which is tough to say for a lot of projects. But to get more of a fan perspective, I asked questions and comments, and read him to Paul. Oh, it's sent. It captures the mockumentary vibe very well, and dialogue has the quick-paced charm that reconnects you to the characters easily. The animation has a great color palette and simplicity that feels like a modern progression of a home movies type show, which is something I love and makes me excited to see more of.
Is that a question?
I think it was just a statement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it would be fun to touch on each one of those things. I guess you would assume that it was inspired by The Office, the mockumentary style. But I think one of the major inspirations for that was just watching Trailer Park Boys. The main reason that it has a mockumentary style is just because I didn't have much time explain plot points. I didn't have much time to let the plot unfold in front of you because they had to fit into less than 10 minutes. So I liked having characters talk to the screen and explain the situation.
Coop Animates, a series that I would say is definitely a must-watch for anyone who likes shows like Smiling Friends, Regular Show, and Futurama. It has that simple but charming, entertaining storyline that people love to come back to.
Oh, fuck yeah. What a good set of comparisons. Futurama was maybe one of the biggest influences on like the makeup of the show and trying to design the environment and like the workplace atmosphere. But yeah, like Futurama is really cool for being a workplace comedy. But I went through the whole catalog of Futurama episodes and like I didn't really see many episodes where they're actually at work. So I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity about Futurama. Like not many episodes take place in the workplace or are about their job. Yeah, I thought it would be cool to make something really grounded and more realistic because that was some of the stuff that I enjoyed the most on Futurama. The workplace dynamic.
Elliot is cool. Love the mockumentary style. Reminds me of some Michael Cusack work. Koala Man, YOLO, etc. It might just be the Australian accents though. Lol.
That's funny. It's funny that somebody would like recognize similarities between this and YOLO and Koala Man, but also not be aware that it was executive produced by Cusack and that I worked on YOLO and Smiling Friends and Koala Man. But personally, I think that I tried to distinguish my style from those other 3 Cusack shows because, yeah, I didn't really just copy anything. But yeah, I think that's a part of my approach now because that's where I kind of cut my teeth.
I think it might just be the Australian accents.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Because from one end, it's like, this reminds me of a regular show. And it's like, well, it reminds me of YOLO. It's like, specifically tell me in what way is this like YOLO?
Well, yeah, I understand how it's like regular show because it's about working in a job and this threat of getting fired all the time. But yeah, I do wonder how it reminds people of Koala Man and YOLO. Like, I'm glad to hear you say that. But, you know, there's probably some element of it which comes from those shows because where I learned a lot of stuff. You know, mostly like the conversational dialogue. Like that part in YOLO where he's on the adventure with the wombat shaman. The wombat shaman runs into like an old friend of his and they just have this really realistic casual conversation. I just really like that part and that stuck out to me. Yeah, like in keeping with stuff like Dr. Katz and home movies, I just wanted to take that and run with it and be like, yeah, why can't the whole entire show be that kind of dialogue?
Brendamancy. I couldn't stop looking at the 5-fingered hands for some reason. So why 5 fingers?
Well, that way of drawing hands comes from, it's a pretty common way of drawing 4-fingered hands where they don't have palms. Although it's actually more like cats, the way people draw cats. When a cat screams, you know, their fingers all split up. I don't know if you've seen that before, but yeah, I thought it was really cute whenever somebody draws a cartoon cat like screaming and their their fingers spread out. They usually only have 4 fingers like cats. I just wanted to take that concept and apply it to people, but I almost always draw people with 5 fingers anyway. And it looks utterly bizarre and really strange, but it's eye-catching. And I think that's kind of the most important thing, like do something unique. It's cool to give the characters like something that it's like a trademark of the show. Oh, you know what? Apparently one of the major reasons that ABC picked up the show was because the 5 fingers caught their eye.
What?
Like, yeah, there was like a big event with the Fresh Blood people in ABC, and then this executive from ABC was like, "Oh my god, you made Day Job, right? Yeah, the fingers really caught my attention. That's the main thing that I noticed." And he was like, "You never see cartoons with 5 fingers." I was like, well, I'm glad I put that in the show then. I think you do see cartoons with 5 fingers all the time, but the main thing that's different about them is that they usually have palms.
Besides, it's not like this is where I was expecting to end up or anything. I mean, I studied film, actually. So, I guess I don't know what I was expecting.
Talking to Paul about Day Job has been one of the more eye-opening experiences when it comes to indie animation. It's a story of a hardworking animator doing what he can to make ends meet and trying to achieve his goal of making his own cartoon. And thanks to the support of local creators like Michael Cusack and even the Australian government, he's able to make his dream a reality. Not only that, but with his understanding of game creation leads to another avenue of making IPs. Such as if you want to make a short Day Job game between episodes just for fun, it would expand the cartoon to other mediums, something I rarely see happening in the space. The best you might get is maybe a plush. Plushes are a medium, I think, right? In the end, I look forward to what Paul goes on to do next, and I wish him the best of luck with his cartoon. Let's hope this is one Day Job he won't clock out of.
In order to excel anywhere, I think the main thing you need is focus. If you focus on something for a long time, it's only a matter of time before you become an expert on it. The younger you are, the more of a sense of potential you have, potential for all kinds of different things, you know? Like when you're young, you feel like you could do anything, and that's true. But if you have focus, like if you know what one thing to focus on, you're bound to succeed. So sometimes if you haven't really decided what it is you really want to do most of all, the hardest part is just figuring out what it is you want to do. Sometimes you're still trying to figure it out even when you're in college, figuring out what you want to focus on. If you don't know exactly what you want to do, that's a whole journey in and of itself. Trying all kinds of things, being experimental, having faith in yourself that you can do it, whatever the thing is. I mean, not everybody can do everything, so sometimes you'll discover that it's like, well, this just isn't for me and I'll have to move to something else. But that's not a reason not to have faith in yourself at the start. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt if you're interested in trying something out. So have some trust in yourself, try it out, and that's the only way to really give yourself a proper chance at finding the thing that you were meant to do. But if you do know what you want to do, you still need to have faith in yourself, because you're really going to have to focus for a long time, and you're going to have to toil in obscurity probably for years, and you're going to have to support yourself doing a day job too, and it's probably going to feel like you're a failure for several years. If you don't have that trust in yourself and the faith that you'll make it eventually, I mean, most people are prone to just giving up. Not any blame on them either, because it's like you can go for several years without getting anywhere. Can't blame you for wanting to give up in that situation. However, if you're the type of person who never gives up and you actually believe in yourself that you can achieve what you were trying to do, that's a better life. That's a more adventurous life where you're risking everything for something that you feel is worthwhile. You just can't really do that if you don't have trust in yourself. I think believing in yourself is the first step towards getting anywhere. You know, and what follows is that other people will also start to believe in you. You'll have this feedback loop of encouragement. People will encourage you, and then you'll make good stuff, and people will say, hey, this is really good. Like, you topped yourself. That's encouraging, and then you'll make more stuff and you'll outdo yourself again. You're in that feedback loop where things just are moving now. You know, the ball's rolling. Things become a lot easier. The only way to get to that stage is if you believed in yourself in the beginning, because, you know, nobody's gonna believe in you until you've done it yourself.
Soon you're going to move on to where you actually want to be, you know, just like me and everybody else. I mean, you just need to know what you want first.
I don't know. I just want to be out of here.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Well, how about this? If we both want to get out of here so bad, how about we just practice right now?